My own daughter looked me in the eye and said I couldn't stay in her house, not even after I lost the use of my legs. She forgot everything I sacrificed for her. But what she didn't know was that fate has a cruel way of turning tables. When I first arrived at Anna's house, it was supposed to be temporary. "Just a week, Dad," she had said, her tone clipped, almost rehearsed. "You need rest. Maybe being around the kids will cheer you up." But I knew the truth. It wasn't Anna's idea at all. She had never really wanted me there. The invitation was mine, not hers. For months, I had been waking in the middle of the night with fire in my waist and legs, pain so sharp it made me gasp in the dark. The walls of my empty house closed in on me. One evening, desperate, I picked up the phone and called Anna. My voice was weak, but I tried to sound steady. "I think maybe I should come spend some time with you and the kids. Just a few days. It might help me feel better." There was a pause, long enough for me to hear the resistance in her silence. When she finally spoke, her voice carried that edge I'd grown to know too well. "If you really think it will help, Dad, just a week. No more." I didn't care how reluctant she sounded. I wasn't going for her. I was going for them. The children, their laughter, their little arms around my neck, the sound of their feet running through the house. I thought maybe those things could stitch the holes inside me, could give me a reason to forget the pain, even if only for a moment. So I packed a small bag, gritting my teeth through the ache as pain medications at this point were just temporal, and made my way to her house. I arrived telling myself it would be good, that it would feel like family again, that perhaps, just perhaps, Anna might soften when she saw me with her children. I didn't know then that my greatest mistake was believing her house would give me comfort. Anna lived in a 2-story brick house in Fairfield County, a quiet neighborhood, trimmed lawns. It was a home built on stability I had once worked my bones off to provide. The first night, I sat at the dinner table, her children giggling over spilled milk. I smiled, though sharp pain burned in my lower back every time I shifted. Anna glanced at me now and then, but never asked if I was okay. Mark, her husband, avoided eye contact altogether. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe they just weren't used to me staying over. But deep down, I felt at the distance. It happened on the third morning. I was trying to stand to help Anna with breakfast. My hands gripped the table, my knees trembling under my weight. Suddenly, a hot knife of pain ripped through my waist. My legs collapsed. The floor slammed into me. "Dad!" Anna shrieked. I couldn't move, couldn't even crawl. Every attempt sent fire shooting down my spine into my legs. Mark rushed in, his face pale. Not with concern, but irritation. "Get him up," Anna ordered. "Careful," I gasped. My voice sounded foreign, weak. They carried me into the car, my dignity dripping with every groan of pain. At the hospital, machines hummed, lights burned, and white coats hovered. Blood samples, scans, endless questions. My heart pounded with fear I dare not show. And the doctor came in, holding a folder like it was a verdict. "Mr. Reynolds, I'm afraid the news is serious." He explained PSA levels, biopsies, Gleason scores, metastasis. Words that sounded clinical, but each one was a dagger. "Cancer," I whispered. "Yes. Advanced prostate carcinoma. It has spread to your bones, pressing against the sciatic nerve. That's the cause of your paralysis." Paralysis. The word echoed in my skull. A man who had lived his entire life on his feet, who prided himself on never asking for help, was now caged inside his own body. I didn't cry then. I stared at the ceiling, silent, as the weight of mortality pressed down like a tombstone. 2 weeks later, I returned to Anna's house, rolled through the door in a wheelchair. I had lost more than strength. I had lost freedom. The air in that house was colder than the hospital room I had just left. Anna's hands were on the handles of the wheelchair, but they weren't gentle. She pushed me forward with a force that made me jolt every time the small wheels caught on a crack in the tile or a rug. Each shove sent a dull ache rippling through my back and down my useless legs. I wanted to say something, slow down, Anna. I just came out of surgery. Do you not see I'm in pain? But the words lodged in my throat. Instead, I sat there, feeling the anger in her movements. It was in the sharp turns she took without warning, in the way she muttered under her breath when the wheelchair snagged against the doorway. She didn't have to say it out loud. I could hear it in the silence between us. I didn't want you here. You're a burden now. I winced as we rolled over a threshold, and pain flared in my waist. My hands gripped the armrest tighter. A part of me wanted to shout at her, to remind her I was her father, that I had carried her in my arms when she was sick, walked the floors at night so she could sleep, worked double shifts so she never went without. But I stayed silent, not because I didn't have the strength, but because I knew, deep inside, that no reminder of the past would change the present bitterness written across her face. The first night, I heard Anna whispering to Mark in the kitchen. "This is too much," she hissed. "I can't take care of him." "We won't," Mark replied coldly. "He can barely move. He'll drag us down." I closed my eyes, pretending to sleep, but my ears caught every poisoned word. My heart broke silently in that darkened guest room. I didn't blame them. I didn't hold it against them. They were not my problem. I just hoped for a miracle, just wanted to walk again so I could leave their house the same shape I came in. The confrontation came sooner than I expected. It was morning. Sunlight streamed in through the blinds. Anna stood by the doorway, arms folded. "Dad, you can't stay here any longer." I blinked. "What did you just say?" "You heard me." Her tone was flat, final. "You were never around when I was a kid. Always working, always gone. And now you expect me to waste my life taking care of you? No, I can't do it. You'll have to go back to your house. Figure it out on your own." My lips trembled. "Anna, when your mother died, I took every overtime shift I could just to keep the lights on. Do you think I wanted to be gone? I worked myself into exhaustion so you could go to school, so you could eat, so you could live in this very house you stand in." She looked away. "That was your choice, not mine." Before I could respond, Mark stepped forward, sneering. "She's right, old man. Don't expect us to babysit you. You weren't there as a father. You were just a wallet." Something shattered inside me. I remembered the winter nights when I worked double shifts at the factory and my fingers froze from loading crates. The mornings I dragged myself home just in time to make her breakfast before collapsing on the couch. The birthdays missed, not because I didn't care, but because I cared too much about giving her everything I never had. And the day her mother died. God, that day. I buried my grief under 12-hour shifts, trying to protect Anna from the sight of my tears. She was all I had left. I gave up my joy, my sleep, my very soul for her. And now, she stood there, looking at me like I was a burden, like a stranger, like something she had scraped off her shoe. That night, I sat in the dark, staring at the ceiling. The house was quiet except for the faint laughter of Anna's children downstairs. I pressed my hands to my face and sobbed. Not the dignified tears of a strong man, but the broken cries of a father betrayed. I whispered to the empty room, "What kind of daughter does this? After all I gave, after all I lost?" The silence answered me. Cancer had taken my body, but Anna had taken my spirit. That was the night I realized. Death wasn't my enemy. Loneliness was. I scrolled through until I found the number of a care service I had once read about in the newspaper. Thank God I saved it. When the voice on the other end answered, I forced my tone steady. Yes, I need arrangements made. I'll wheelchair on to take me back to my house. As soon as possible. And it didn't stop me. She didn't even look at me. She just turned and walked into the kitchen, leaving me sitting there with the hollow sound of my own heartbeat in my ears. 2 hours later, the van arrived. A stranger, gentler than my own daughter, helped me into the vehicle. As we pulled away from Anna's house, I looked back once through the tinted glass. No one stood at the door to wave goodbye. Not Anna, not her husband, not even the children. That night, my house greeted me with silence. The walls seemed wider, emptier, almost hostile. I rolled into the living room and just sat there, staring at the photographs of better days. My chest felt like it was caving in. But then 2 days later, a knock came at the door. It was Samuel, an old friend from my working years. His broad shoulders had sagged with age, his hair gone completely white, but his eyes were still kind. And beside him stood a boy. No, not a boy, but a young man. Denise, 21, tall, with the restless energy of youth. "Reynolds," Samuel said, clasping my hand carefully, his voice thick with pity. "I heard what happened. I had to see you." I tried to put on a brave face, but my voice cracked. "It's good to see you, Sam. Things haven't been easy." While the two of us talked, I noticed Noah quietly moving around the house. He fetched me a glass of water without asking, adjusted the blanket on my lap, even helped reposition my chair so I wasn't straining my back. There was no hesitation in him, no complaint, just a quiet, natural kindness. When they left that evening, I thought it was just a visit. But the very next morning, there was another knock. Noah stood there, backpack slung over his shoulder. "I'll be coming by every day, Mr. Reynolds," he said simply, "to make sure you're okay. Dad's busy, but I can do it. You shouldn't be alone." I blinked, my throat tightening. "Denise, you don't have to. I want to," he cut in firmly. "You remind me of my granddad. I couldn't help him before he passed, but I can help you." And just like that, my house was no longer empty. Noah came daily, sometimes staying till night, sometimes even sleeping on the couch if he thought I might need him in the middle of the night. He cooked, cleaned, helped me bathe when I was too weak, and sat with me through the long hours when pain gnawed at my bones. I had been abandoned by blood, but here, in my lowest moment, I had been given something greater, loyalty unasked for, freely given. And in my heart, a decision began to take root. At times I tried to be useful to myself. I burned my hand once trying to balance a pan on the stove. But Noah was there. He didn't flinch when I spilled food on myself. Didn't sigh when it took me 20 minutes to button my shirt. He just helped, quietly, respectfully, like it was the most natural thing in the world. I asked him once, "Why are you doing this, boy?" "I'm not your father." He looked me in the eye, steady and calm. "Because I want someone to do this for my father if he were in your place. And because you remind me of him." That was the first night I slept without crying. Days formed a new rhythm. Noah would arrive in the morning, cheerful, carrying groceries. "Sir, today I'll make you breakfast," he'd say, cracking eggs into the pan. I chuckled, shaking my head. "Call me Tom. Sir makes me feel like I'm already in my grave." He laughed, but never stopped calling me sir. Respect was stitched into his bones. We developed small rituals. He'd shave my stubble with careful hands while we talked about the old factory days. He'd push me down the street for air, and we'd watch children play in the park. At night, he sometimes stayed over, laying his mattress on the floor beside my bed. "Just in case you need me," he'd say. It was in those quiet nights, hearing his steady breathing in the dark, that I realized Noah had become the son I never had. One afternoon, Noah found me staring at an old photo album. Margaret's face smiled up from the page, her arms wrapped around a younger Anna. "You miss her?" he asked softly. "Every day," I whispered. "She was the glue that held us together. When she died, I thought Anna and I would cling to each other. But instead, we drifted apart. Maybe she blames me for not being enough. Maybe she's right." Noah shook his head firmly. "No, sir. A man who works 2 jobs, who sacrifices sleep and joy for his family, that's more than enough. If she can't see that, that's her blindness, not your fault." His words poured like balm over wounds that had festered for years. For the first time since Anna cast me out, I didn't feel worthless. One evening, a storm rolled in. Rain hammered the roof, the power flickered out. I panicked. Memories of hospital alarms, the sterile loneliness, flooded my chest. Denise, I called. He rushed in with a lantern. I'm here, sir. Don't worry. And in that moment, my heart steadied. Not because the lights returned, but because I wasn't alone. Over weeks, something inside me shifted. Where I had once felt like a burden, I now felt purpose. Noah listened when I spoke. He asked for advice about his own life, about jobs, about relationships. I became a mentor again, not just a patient. He'd say things like, "Sir, what would you do if you were my age again?" And I'd laugh. Don't waste so much time working. I'd spend it with those I love. The irony was bitter, but speaking the truth lifted a weight I didn't know I carried. At night, though, when Noah had gone home, I still thought of Anna. My daughter, my blood. How could she push me away so easily? Didn't she remember the nights I carried her fevered body to the hospital? Didn't she remember the bike I saved for months to buy her on her 12th birthday? Didn't she remember how I wept silently when she graduated, wishing her mother had lived to see it? Maybe she didn't, or maybe she chose not to. The thought cut me, but I no longer bled as freely. Denise's presence had stitched the wound. Weeks turned into months. My body was weaker, but my spirit grew strong again. I stopped begging Anna in my thoughts. I stopped hoping for her visits. Instead, I cherished the kindness of those who chose me when they had no obligation. I realized family isn't just blood. Family is who shows up when the world turns its back. And for the first time since Margaret's death, I felt alive. The cancer was still inside me. The wheelchair still chained me. But I was no longer drowning in despair. Because Denise, this boy who owed me nothing, had given me back something priceless. My dignity, my reason to breathe, and my strength to face whatever came next. But it didn't prepare me enough. Then came the summer of the fire. The news had been warning for weeks about the heat waves, about how dry the county had become. But nothing could have prepared us for what happened that August. The fire had started on the far ridge, but moved fast, too fast. Whole stretches of the county were swallowed overnight. They would later call it the Ashwood Fire, a blaze so merciless it gutted homes, shops, schools, anything in its path. Anna's town was one of the hardest hit. Her house sat just 3 blocks from the wooded stretch where the flames first leapt across the road. And her shop, her pride, the small family business she had built with her husband, stood right at the edge of that block. By the second day, word spread. The shop was gone, burned to its skeleton. The house had not fared better. Roofs caved in, walls blackened. Every photograph, every toy, every scrap of her life turned to ash. Noah told me. I listened in silence, my chest tightening, but no words came. My daughter, my own flesh and blood, who had turned me away when I had begged for shelter, was now homeless herself. Days later, the county declared a state of emergency. Relief tents went up, people camped out in borrowed spaces, waiting for insurance that would take months to process. And it was in that chaos, that smoke-stained air, that Anna must have thought of me again. Because one morning, as the sun barely cut through the haze, an envelope slipped under my door. Anna had written me a letter. Noah brought in the mail. My hands trembled as I unfolded it. Dad, I know I hurt you. I was angry, selfish, and ungrateful. I shouldn't have spoken to you the way I did. Please forgive me. The children keep asking why you won't let them stay. They miss you. They need you. I need you. Please let us come home. I read it twice. Thrice. My eyes burned, but not with pity, with rage. If she had written such words when I was in her house, when I was broken and helpless, maybe things would be different. But now, stripped bare by tragedy, she remembered me. I crumpled the letter and tossed it into the fire. The small town had sharp tongues. I heard it from Denise, from Harold, even from the nurse who came occasionally to check my vitals. They say Anna's been begging you to take her in. They say you turned your own daughter away. They say it's cruel. I chuckled bitterly. Cruel? Where were those voices when she threw me out? Where was that pity when I begged her not to abandon me? Let them talk. And talk they did. Some called me heartless. Others nodded with quiet approval, muttering, "Serves her right." For once, I didn't care what anyone thought. One evening, there was another knock. Noah opened the door cautiously. This time, Anna stood there alone. No children, no Mark. Her eyes were sunken, her hair unkempt. "Dad," she whispered, "please, just me. Forget Mark. Forget what I said. I was wrong. I'll take care of you. I'll cook, I'll clean, I cut her off with a raised hand. "Stop. You don't get to come back now, Anna. Where was this devotion when I lay in your guest room, crying myself to sleep? Where was this when your husband spat in my face? Where was this when you told me to survive alone?" She dropped to her knees on the porch, sobbing. I was angry. I didn't understand. "Dad, I'm sorry." My own tears welled, but I didn't move. "Anna," I whispered, "I prayed for years that you would understand me. You never did. And now you only come because the fire took what you loved. That's not repentance. That's desperation. And I will not let desperation rewrite history." Noah gently closed the door again, leaving her on the porch. I heard her cries fade into the night. The following week, Mark showed up instead. He didn't knock politely. He pounded on the door until Noah answered. "Old man," he barked, "you're disgusting. That's your daughter out there starving, and you're living in comfort with another man's son? You're sick." I wheeled myself into view. Sick? Yes. Cancer eats my bones every day. But I would rather die of this disease than live another second under the same roof as a man who mocked me when I couldn't walk. Mark's face twisted with fury. "You'll regret this. She's your blood." I laughed, a hollow, bitter sound. "Blood doesn't make family, Mark. Actions do. And you? You're nothing to me." Noah stepped between us, tall and calm. "Leave now, or I'll call the police." Mark spat on the ground and stormed off. But the worst, the most piercing, came the following Sunday. I was by the window when I saw two small figures in the yard, and his children. They must have come without her knowing. They knocked gently on the door. Noah opened it. "Grandpa." Elizabeth, the older one, whispered, "Why don't you let us stay? Mommy cries every night. Daddy yells. We don't understand. Did we do something wrong?" My heart shattered. I wanted to rush forward, scoop them into my arms, tell them none of this was their fault. But my body betrayed me, chained to the chair. Tears streamed down my cheeks as I spoke, barely audible. "No, my sweet ones, you did nothing wrong." But Noah, strong and wise beyond his years, knelt down to them. "Your grandpa loves you, more than anything. But sometimes grown-ups make choices that are hard to understand. Go back to your mother now. Stay safe." They left reluctantly, looking back at me with eyes that pleaded for answers I couldn't give. That night, I cried again, but not for Anna, not for Mark. For those children, innocent victims of their parents' sins. By the end of that month, Anna stopped coming. No more knocks. No more letters. No more begging. Only silence. And in that silence, I found peace. Because for the first time in decades, I was no longer defined by her approval or her betrayal. I had chosen my family, and she was no longer part of it. A year had passed since the wildfire that ruined Anna's home. A year since she knelt on my porch, begging. A year since her children's little fists knocked on my door. Life settled into a strange rhythm. My bones still screamed with pain, my body weaker with each sunrise, but my mind was sharper than ever. Noah became the son I never had. He came before sunrise, brewed my tea the way I liked, and drove me to the clinic when Harold couldn't. Sometimes he stayed the night, sleeping in the next room. We talked about school, about his dreams of starting a carpentry shop, about life. He listened to my stories without yawning, without rushing me. He carried me where my legs would not. And I, a dying man, felt alive again. One autumn morning, Harold arrived with a man in a dark suit. A lawyer. Papers were spread out on the dining table. I signed slowly, my hands trembling. Mr. Parker, the lawyer said softly, are you sure about this? It means everything. Your house, your savings, goes to Noah Walters and Elizabeth and her sister with the majority going to Noah. I nodded. My voice was gravel. Yes, he has been my caretaker, my son, my family. My daughter abandoned me when I needed her. Blood betrayed me. Love redeemed me. My legacy belongs to him. Noah's eyes widened. Sir, I can't accept this. You've already given me more than I deserve. I placed a frail hand on his. You've given me dignity. That's worth more than gold. You will accept it. And so the deed was sealed. It didn't take long for word to reach Anna. One evening, there was another knock, sharp, frantic. Noah opened it. Anna stormed in, her clothes ragged, eyes red with fury. Mark wasn't with her. I suspected he'd left her long ago. Dad, she hissed. What's this nonsense about the will? You left everything to a stranger. To him? What about me? What about your grandchildren? I stared at her, my chest tight, my heart a drum. You're not my heir, Anna. Not anymore. I raised you, fed you, broke my back for you. And when I needed you most, you threw me out like trash. Noah gave me more love in 1 year than you did in your lifetime. Her lip quivered. But I'm your daughter. No, I whispered, tears burning my eyes. You stopped being my daughter the day you told me to survive alone. Noah stood tall beside me, protective as always. Mrs. Collins, he said firmly, this house isn't yours. The will is signed and sealed. You need to leave. Anna's face twisted with rage and grief. She spat on the floor, just as her husband once did, and stormed out into the night. I knew then that was the last time I would ever see her. But weeks later, there was another knock. This one soft, hesitant. The door opened, and there they were again, my grandchildren. Alone. Their eyes were tired, but hopeful. Grandpa, the little one whispered, Mommy said we can't see you anymore. But we wanted to. My heart broke open. Come here, I said, my voice cracking. Come to me. They ran into my arms, their small hands clutching at my frail body. I held them, weak but desperate, burying my tears in their hair. Whatever happens, I told them, remember this. I love you. And one day, when you're older, you'll understand why I did what I did. I didn't stop being your grandpa. I just stopped being your mother's father. Noah watched quietly, a solemn vow in his eyes. He would guard them, too. The cancer spread quickly. My nights grew colder, my body frilier. But I wasn't afraid anymore. Each evening, Noah would sit by my bedside, notebook in hand, writing down my stories, my childhood, my love for their grandmother, the struggles of raising Anna. He promised me my voice would live on. And every morning, my grandchildren would sneak by before school, leaving little notes and drawings on my nightstand. I had lost my daughter, but I had gained something greater, peace. One winter dawn, as snow fell gently outside, I felt at the end, my breath shallow, my chest heavy. I asked Noah to bring the children one last time. They stood by my bed, holding my hands. Listen to me, I whispered. Family isn't about blood. It's about love. It's about who stays when the world walks away. Remember that always. My eyes closed. The last sound I heard was their voices calling my name. And then silence. My revenge was not loud. It was not cruel. It was simple, final, and just, I left nothing to the one who betrayed me. I gave everything to the one who saved me. And in that, I found peace. So I ask you this. After everything Anna did, after the rejection, the cruel words, and the years of silence, do you think I should have forgiven her? Or was giving everything to Denise, the one who truly stood by me, the justice I deserved? Drop your reply in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.